Beautiful stuff. Welcome to the first episode of AFL Department. I'm your host, Jaxsen. This is Tigers man, Sam Bradford, with me here today. And I've also got the Bombers man, Saki Boy. Today we'll be talking about the teams from bottom to top on the ladder to see how they've went throughout the year. We'll also be doing a little bit of a first round elimination finals prediction towards the end and what you can expect to see from future episodes. Beautiful stuff. We'll get into it and we'll see you all soon. So we'll start from bottom to the top of the ladder from this year. It's been a super exciting year for AFL. The whole top 8 and the race for the 8 towards the end there was super exciting. But
real tight this year.
Yeah, super tight. But we're going to start it with the people who weren't so close. West Coast being at the bottom of the ladder this year. Poor West Coast, riddled with injuries, so many injuries throughout the year. So they just had a bit of a rough run. So you can sort of see why they got the wooden spoon this year. It was nearly North Melbourne there, but they got a win in their last game against Gold Coast Suns in Hobart actually. So that was a pretty good result for them.
Good old Blunston Arena.
Yeah, that's right. Pretty good result.
Thing with West Coast too, since the downfall of 2018. Every year just keep getting worse.
They've just gone downhill,
so
and
they're
riddled with injuries, and I mean, you can sort of forgive them for that, but when they get back to their full list and they're finally injury free, then that'll be the real test to see whether or not they are actually a formidable side.
They picked up number 1 draft pick mid-season, didn't they?
And they're about to pick up another one as well. So you can expect to see some
growth. Yeah.
That's right. So hopefully once they get some injuries back and they should hopefully get back on the board.
And they're back in Adam Simpson.
Yeah, true that. They've re-signed him, so there's got to be something good for the club.
He did win a premiership, so...
That's right. So, yeah, but back him in, injuries would probably be the reason why they're so far down the list at the moment. Next up, we got North Melbourne. a quote-unquote Tassie team, even though it's got Melbourne in it. But North Melbourne had a bit of a rough one this year. Clarko got caught up in a bit of drama there after he came over. So he had a few games off, like sort of mid-season, and I reckon that sort of threw a few people off. With North Melbourne in particular, they've picked up a lot of really good young players over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
They've got some brilliant talent in there. Jai Simpkin, Larky, there's loads of good ones. Sheasel, who could potentially win the Rising Star medal this year. So they've got a lot of good players for that list, and being that far down the ladder, they're going to get some good draft picks.
There's a lot of hype with North Melbourne at the start of the season.
Yeah, that's
under Clarko.
That's right. You would expect to see something good from them, but they might get a couple of extra players. Clarko might take a couple of years to really find his ground with that team, but hopefully, they start to see a good run because they've got a good side, and I feel like they should be doing pretty well. So
it's just like a GWS Gold Coast situation where, like, at the beginning, they've got tons of young players. They're still working with their coach. They've just got to develop.
Yeah, that's right. It's essentially a new team, and they've done a full rebuild, and now you can expect them to really grind and hopefully over the next couple of years start to perform and do a lot better.
I remember when we were in high school, the era of Boomer Harvey, and ever since that kind of team disappeared, like slowly retired, they've always been rebuilding since.
Yeah,
so it's been like 6 years kind of now. So they've always been kind of a bit of struggling and trying to rebuild. So Clarko could be the right recipe.
Hopefully so. He's won a fair few premierships. He was there for the three-peat of Hawthorn when he was there. So So he might be able to do the same thing in North Melbourne. I don't think it will happen, but it's there. He's done it before, so why can't he do it again?
Yeah, that's it.
Speaking of Hawks are up next, 16th on the ladder. Those boys have a fairly decent side, but they've just got a new coach with Sam Mitchell coming in. He's one of those people that used to play and then came into the coaching role shortly thereafter. So he's certainly got a lot of game knowledge in that sense, but I think his coaching will still take some time to develop, and that's sort of the way it goes with those things. Nathan Buckley for Collingwood, perfect example. Started off a little bit rocky there, but then made it all the way to the granny.
Hawks had some good games near the end of the season.
Yeah,
they beat Collingwood.
That's right.
really good game.
Super perform. They definitely know what they're doing, and they've got a formidable list as well. John Newcomb, Tassie Boy is in there. Chad Wingard.
Chad Wingard. He's injury prone.
Yeah, I know. James Sicily, perfect captain, super gets around his boys and is really happy to be there. So good on him for leading that team really well. But hopefully with a bit more.
Another quote Tassie team.
Yeah, that's right. The two Tassie teams not doing too well. Hopefully, if one comes in the future, they do a little bit better than these boys are at the moment. But
might be another rough start, but
it is what it is. It's a part of the game. It might be a Jack Jumpers sort of thing where they come in and just smash it straight off the bat. That'd be sick.
Yeah.
But we'll definitely be covering that in future episodes for sure. But should be an interesting one. Next up, we've got Gold Coast Suns. Quick shout out to Rubes there with being the only Gold Coast Sun supporter I know, but
the number one fake supporter.
Yeah, that's right, bro. They only lose.
Boys are top in Bali, and
that's right. I got to listen.
Forgets they're playing down here.
I got a bit of inside information from Ruben because he is a very diehard fan, but he said that Gold Coast didn't perform as well as they needed to this year because they played too many games at night. And they only win in the sun because they're the Gold Coast Suns. So they need to play more day games and then they're on.
That's
and then
a great
they're on.
quote by Ruben.
But that's what he reckons. So, but they've again got a really good
night games.
Games. Stupid. But
Someone's going, mate.
Yeah, I know it's a bit of a laugh. But exciting things for Gold Coast Suns because they've just signed on Dimmer as the new head coach.
That's right. Yeah, I did.
I suppose Bradford sort of will be keeping an eye on that one coming up most definitely.
New era for the Dimmer.
That's right. Dimmer's done another one of those premiership captains, or like that can run, or premiership coaches. Sorry.
Well, he was a premiership player as well. He won 2 premierships.
He's brilliant, and he's got that drive, and he's a hard. He's a bit of a hard ass, which is good to see, and it's exactly what you need to see with their sort of younger side. They've got some really good players in there. Matt Rao, Took Miller, plenty of good players that are very formidable, and it could be a very interesting side, and it will be interesting to see. So much rumours about it at the moment, but Dimmer bringing over Dusty once his contract ends next year.
Yeah, we'll talk about that soon.
So that'll be a bit of an interesting one because then you've got an elected All-Australian, obviously won the Norm Smith, all the rest. He's a brilliant player.
Brownlow.
An established great player.
That's right. He is very formidable, and he had a very good year this year. He sort of dropped off a little bit last year, given some family dramas and stuff. But at the end of the day, he's really brought it back this year, and it'll be interesting to see what he does with Richmond next year, and then potentially another club after that. So, should be interesting to see. Next up, we got Freo. Poor Freo. They're the only ones that don't really have an excuse to be playing so bad. I think they've got a brilliant list.
They're hyped up a lot.
They
Pre-season.
they on paper look really, really good. Last year they made the 8.
Yeah.
They got Luke Jackson into their side, who they desperately needed. Caleb Sarong, Brayshaw. They've got loads of good players. But just couldn't hit the targets this year. Just couldn't make anything happen from it, and it was really, really poor by them, to be honest. They don't have an excuse to be this far down the ladder, but I mean, at the end of the day, they've got a good side. I think it'll just take some time to really cement them, and then hopefully they can get back to that top 8 next year with a bit of luck. Next up, Brado's team. He's a Tiger man, Richmond. What happened with Richmond this year, mate? Didn't make the 8. What's the go there? You got some good players. Where does that sort of stem from? Is it the Dimmer sort of dramas going on? What do you think sort of happened there?
I think it's a few points to start with. We'll start with Dimmer, of course. So he was around the club for about 14 years, and it was about 8 years until he won his first premiership. So 2017 was a big year. We absolutely destroyed Adelaide in the final. And we had
absolutely destroyed.
Take that, losers!
And I think we had a really well-built system around with good quality players that can play their role. And the likes of Alex Rance, who won that grand final. Trent Cotchin when he was in his prime.
Oh.
Jack Rewald. Yeah. And we also had a lot of good players who could just clutch it, like Dusty Martin and whatnot. And I think moving into obviously 2018, we got knocked down in the bloody prelims by fucking Mason Cox. He just had one good game and had to be against Richmond in that. I'll never forget that game. I'll never forget that. Absolutely.
Don't worry, I won't never forget the grand final that year.
That has got an inbuilt rivalry against Mason Cox, for sure.
Oh, Mason Cox, like...
Yeah, it's fair.
I like him, like, probably off the field, because I think he's, like, a pretty decent dude. But anyway, go back to the Tigers. Then we had a killer of a 2019 kind of final, and then obviously built on to 2020 final, and where we beat Geelong. I was actually in Melbourne when it was the final against GWS, where we absolutely destroyed them as well.
That GWS.
I was in Melbourne for listening out, but my mum and my stepdad, they were actually at the game.
Yeah,
it was brilliant. Yeah, so they got to see absolutely smashing.
Absolutely smash. Yeah, the absolute smashing.
That's right. It's a wicked atmosphere. Sort of going a little off topic here, but footy's just one of those things. It's exactly like the EPL as well, where you go there, you watch your team, you win or lose, you're always having a good time. You're always backing in your team. So it would have been awesome for them to see.
Yeah, so I think
year, most
after the 2020 season, when it was kind of that COVID period where they were all in the hub up in Gold Coast, then they played the final in the Gabba, which was I think the first time really ever since I've actually moved outside of the NCG.
I think so, yeah.
I think after that period where the team were all kind of close, all kind of in the same area and kind of training, building that bond, because there's a player called Jaxsen Airey, if you remember. He had like a tattoo gun, and all these boys were walking around with like these tattoo jobs on their legs and shit, because obviously spent a lot of time together. But I think after that era, you'd see the kind of style starting to not be able to perform as well, because you need the right players for the style, like Dimmer played. And Dimmer obviously been there for so long, he came to a point where he didn't have that energy and message to give it to the players. So I think what ended up happening was, in this season, 2023, he kind of just lost his energy and kind of did all he could at Tigers, which is winning 3 premierships, which is great.
It's a good effort.
Having a player be beast mode like Dusty Martin, who won, I think it was 3 Norm Smith medals, 1 Brownlow, and obviously having 3 premierships. So
totally.
I think we can definitely say that we're going to go into start a rebuilding stage, where it's this season, it's about, obviously, Dimmer's left, he's left his legacy, and now it's just about building forward.
What can Richmond do here? They're a very exciting team over the next couple of years, most definitely, and it'll be interesting to see what they can do with it. Whether or not Dimmer's the deciding factor, or whether or not the team themselves. I mean, looking at Tim Taranto, arguably one of the best players in the competition at the moment. You've lost a couple. Trent Conchin just left this year, and
Jack
Revold as well, recently. But you've still got so many stars to fall back on. You've still got Dusty for a bit.
Speaking of Dusty and the whole Gold Coast thing, I think it'll come down to Dusty. Does he want to be a one club legend?
True.
And the thing about Richmond also, they get 100,000 members each year, basically. So he loves yellow and black.
100%.
He basically
looks great on him for sure.
They've been so supportive with him when it comes to his father, and letting him kind of go travel to him when he was alive and stuff like that. And when his father passed away, how supportive they were with him. And I think he just loves the culture, and it's kind of like a family to him.
That's right. It won't only be a legacy for what he's done,
but he did love Dimmer.
What they've done for them. Yeah, that's right. And no doubt Dimmer would have done a lot of that stuff for him as well. So, he's obviously got a massive legacy at the club, but it'll also be interesting to see, what he decides to do with either the players of the club or the coach of the club. So...
it's tough for players that love winning to stay on a rebuilding side when they can feel it coming.
Yeah.
They kind of want to make the jump as well.
For me personally, that era when Richmond were winning the premierships, my EPL club, Liverpool, were also flying. We're winning Champions League, Premier League.
It was a good
it was a good era for me, but it was about time, because obviously growing up, Liverpool were rebuilding, Richmond were they were okay. Because I was born in South Brisbane, so Brisbane Lions, they're kind of like my kind of second team and whatnot. So Tigers, I kind of became more of a solid fan in high school, and that was like pre-win premierships. So I was like, I kind of got through those kind of years where we were always coming ninth and stuff like that. And then it's great to kind of go into our college days and kind of we kind of turned 20, it was like brilliant time.
Have a few winning years, yeah.
Well, my EPL team and my footy team were both going well.
Years of the Bradford. Yeah, years of the Bradford. The classic. There was another bloke, good old Jono, who would have felt the exact same for a little bit there with Geelong back in the day. Next up on the list. And Benny. But this year they sucked. They won the granny last year and they're the reigning premiers, but this year
I've heard they got a sponsorship with an old person's home, so they...
Yeah, that's right. They're all going to retire next year because they can't even make the 8 anymore, so there'll have to be another team that does a full rebuild shortly. But Geelong, super disappointing year for them. They didn't make the 8 this year, coming off a grand final win, which I think was
the biggest part, yeah.
which was massive, and it was a bit of a shock upset. And they did lose Selwood, and and few of their players are still in their prime and still playing really, really good football, even at an old age. But they're just more like prone to injuries and those kind of things, and it should be a bit of a rough pick up for Geelong, especially considering they've been in finals for so many years now, and they've been playing such good football for so long, and I'm so happy that they're not in the 8 because all of them just give me so much shit constantly. But at the same same respect,
Collingwood and Geelong rivalry is always funny in our friendship.
Huge
group.
rivalry.
It's a brilliant time, and there's so many of those brilliant rivalries out there, and I think that's definitely one of them. But it's interesting, and a sort of it's interesting to see because we're not sure where Geelong will be able to go from here. What do they do when they start to lose some of their older players? Then they'll have to do a full rebuild, and then will we see Geelong in the top 8 for some time to come? It should be interesting. Another one of those teams that I do plan on following pretty closely over the next couple of years, most definitely, because they're going to be. Geelong supporters won't be as mouthy, thankfully, but at the same end, I will be keeping up to date with them and just seeing how they're going.
Sure. Like you said, though, they've had a real good run these last few years.
They
last 7 years, they've just been on a run.
I think you'd even say like the last
10,
15 years.
Yeah,
2007. I remember
true, actually.
When that won their first premiership.
That was
first premiership, but the first premiership in a long time.
I know, and they had that massive win over Port Adelaide back then as well by a stupid margin.
2007. I remember.
It was
absolute.
Massive blowout, but that's what Geelong can do, and there's nothing really stopping them from going there. They've still got Tom Hawkins and they've still got Jeremy Cameron, and they're the two pretty much leading goal kickers constantly. So it's always looking good for them. Can't count them out just yet, but it will be interesting to see what they do with their list moving forward.
Yeah, it's a tough rebuild.
That's right. Next up, we've got Essendon. Who have just sort of missed out because they've had some very disappointing games towards the end of the year. But started off really strong. Brad Scott
hot
came
and cold,
in.
I think they were. Hot and cold.
Yeah, most definitely. I think that was sort of a bit of the dialogue for most teams this year. They either started out real strong and then sort of drifted a little bit late, or started off a bit rough and then came charging home towards the end, and a lot of
definitely some teams that did that. Yeah, came in hot at the end of this season.
Most definitely.
But that's been a bit of a curse for us Bomber boys since 2011. When we went on an 11 win streak ages ago. Ever since then, we've just been hot and cold.
It's so rough. Essendon haven't won a final in such a long time. There's Facebook pages going around, daily updates on it and stuff like that, and I mean it's rough. But
let's get rough on there.
But the good thing is that Essendon on paper have a stupid good side. They've got a very good side, and they've just brought in Brad Scott, who's now sort of learning the team a bit. Got on a good win streak there for a while. Sort of fell off a bit towards the end, having a couple of nearly 100-point losses a couple of times.
A couple rough ones.
But on the same respect, it happens, and no team's safe from it. You can always expect
Bombers
those
beat Kai for one.
Big
remember
blowout.
watching it with Leafy.
Yeah,
he's also a Bombers fan, and I think with Benny there too. And what ended up happening was it was basically toe to toe, and then you guys kicked the last goal to beat us by a point.
Yeah.
In the last kind of dying seconds of the game.
It most certainly happens, and I mean, and then that happened again to Essendon.
Yeah, so that
happened to us.
Port Adelaide. So
they kicked it
was
on
a
the
roller
siren.
coaster. It was an actual roller coaster for an Essendon fan.
That's right.
It's been a roller coaster,
and it's really rough. Like I'd love to see Essendon get up because they're a cool side, and we've got a fierce rivalry for like Anzac Day and those kind of things.
Rich in history. They're rich in history with. Also been equal with Carlton when it comes to the most premierships.
Yeah. That's right. Well, they haven't lost the most premierships like the Pies, boys.
Yeah. The Collie Wobbles.
Yeah, that's right. I'll keep my mouth shut until grand final. But no, Essendon have a super good list. And they've got a lot of young stars. They've got some really good older people led by Zach Merritt, who I think arguably is the best captain in the whole game at the moment for leading his boys. Like, just sets the bar so high, performs stupid well every single game, and is exactly what that team need. And with Brad Scott coming in, I don't see it being a bad thing, and I do see Essendon making the top 8. Hopefully next season we can hope to see it. It's a bit rough. Just missing out. We've got Adelaide.
Oh, this is a good one.
This one's a bit interesting and a lot of controversy here because now we're starting to get to that tail end of the 8 and who made it, who didn't, those kind of things, and there was a bit of a controversy about the team because there was a score review. Yeah, there was a score review that was inconclusive, and they ended up paying them a point when it should have been a goal. The AFL came back and said it should have been a goal. They would have won the game. They would have made the 8.
But then they said they're like, we're not changing it.
That's right. They were like, we're not changing it.
I'm a bit silent on this because in EPL they've got VAR, and the technology they've got there is like absolutely superior compared to what they use for ARC in the AFL. AFL is a big company, and I don't know why they haven't started investing more into the technology.
I have seen...
It's a game changer. Look at this. Now a team...
misses out on potentially a premiership. They have a good team. Tex Walker is...
Well, you can say, potentially a premiership, but definitely missed out on finals.
Most definitely, and it's rough. But, I have seen a lot of recent come up because of this, because everyone's like, okay, the ARC's not good enough. We need better systems in place. We need this, we need that. Eddie Maguire... just came forward and spoke massively about new microchips that they're going to start putting in the balls to be able to do sort of like a snickometer for cricket.
That's pretty good actually.
They used chips in the World Cup just recently in Qatar 2022.
Yep, just to really get a feel for some actual technology, but rough for them. For them. They had a fairly good year, to be honest, and they played a lot of good games and showed up a lot of good teams, and unfortunately just missed out. And poor Tex Walker just missed out on the Coleman medal by a couple of goals, which is unfortunate for him. But nonetheless,
he's got a good mo.
Yeah, he does. Tex Walker is a beast of a man. He's
sparks pub as well.
Yeah, that's right. He sparks a lot of controversy, but he's
six beers before every game.
Yeah, fair enough. That's how it should be, really. But no, unfortunate for Adelaide, but it is what it is at the end of the day.
Oh, it is what it is. Yeah.
So, and his name's Tex Walker.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
pretty
hard.
It's pretty hard.
It is a hard name. Good on you, Tex. Did well for my fantasy team this year.
Yeah, good on you, Tex. Shout out, Tex.
Yeah, good on you, Tex. And just missing out on the 8, we've got the Western Bulldogs. They missed out. They had a very hit and miss
another hot and cold team.
Yeah, that's right. Had a very hit and miss sort of year, but again, they're one of those teams that have a really, really good side. Bontempelli, another Brownlow favourite that's in there that's playing really good football at the moment. You got your young guns, Bailey Smith in there. He's a very popular name.
They're a solid team.
That's right. They've got plenty of good people. So you can expect to see some good things coming out of them. It's just whether or not they can continue to use this brilliant list and sort of make a bit more movements. They've seen some grand finals in previous years, so you would expect to see that they can still do it again, having a relatively same team to when they did make the finals.
Yeah.
Cool. Now we're in the top 8. The top 8, the exciting stuff.
I have to say before we get into that, this season when it comes to the fight for finals was unreal.
Yeah, very tight. The whole time.
In my life, I haven't seen a one is close.
That's right. The amount of times where you already know what the
snakes
80
and it was like snakes and ladders.
Yeah, that's right. It goes
up and down, up and down.
It was like for Geelong, like you were so unsure until like a couple of matches ago, and I remember sitting there with Benny, and they'd like just lost, and it was like, oh, okay, they're out of finals. That's hard to believe that it was so close.
That's mathematically.
Even down to those last 3 games, like I've never seen it that tight before.
I saw
relying on other teams to lose so badly.
I saw a brilliant stat, and it was in the last round, Essendon still could have made the 8.
Yeah,
but they needed. You needed to beat Collingwood by like 140 points, and
someone else needed
GWS needed. No, Colt needed to beat GWS by like 120 points or something like that, and then you would have made it by like 0.1% or something like that. So but even that, shows how close it really was. Yes, there's a massive like points differential, but you know at the same time. Very, very close, and the race for the 8 was brilliant.
That's what you want for a fan.
Most definitely. So just scraping in on the list, we've got Sydney, who made the grand final last year. Didn't have a hot a run as what they needed to. It'll be interesting to see how they play. Not having home games this year. That'll be the big one for them. That's pretty much how they.
Franklin. So he's played his last game at SCG. Does he keep playing until they get knocked out? How does that work?
I'm not 100% sure to be honest.
Retiring.
He's
retiring.
He has announced that he is retiring. So yeah, I'm not really sure how that'll go there. But he definitely won't be seen next season. We can pretty much guarantee that.
Kind of get the feel that he's like already gone because you just watched the last game. Like,
that's
he's
right.
Just like, I'm just gonna watch.
He's a milestone player.
Cochin and Jack Rewalt did.
Yeah, he's a milestone player. He definitely when he kicked his 1,000 and everyone ran onto the field, that was a massive moment for them. Sydney being in the grand final last year, they've got a lot of hot moments, and they've still got that exact same side that they had last year. So you can expect to see some good things from them. I don't know if I see them doing too well in finals just because they won't have home games. They're starting not in Sydney, and that's pretty much how they made the finals last year because Pies only came off by a couple of points, but it would have been a different story if it was for MCG. That's me coping a little bit because I didn't make the granny last year. But at the same end, will they be able to form outside of Sydney? That'll be the question. Moving into the 8, most definitely.
The amount of people that were hoping for like Sydney to not get home games because they're like, as long as Sydney doesn't get home games, they're definitely not doing well.
Than most other grounds.
I think that's why it's a different atmosphere. You'd also expect there to be a lot more Sydney fans there. So just getting your team around it. One of the biggest strategies that I've seen all year from a lot of teams playing Collingwood, who have been top dog for a hot minute, is during their training sessions they will have a speaker of Collingwood chant going, like while they're doing it. So
beautiful.
They're used to the pressure of having the Collingwood fans going absolutely crazy because that's what can get us through. That is literally what can get us through. So not having Sydney in a home game. You can expect to see some pretty rough stuff there. Yeah. Another people where we're not sort of sure how they'll go outside of home, but Greater Western Sydney, coming in at 7th. They've had a really impressive run home. They had a really, really good run home.
Absolutely destroyed Bombers, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, that was one of the ones.
Huge win over Bombers. And then they beat Carlton in the last one, who were on a 10-game winning streak, which is huge for them. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a sec, but GWS had a very hot run home. They've got
Toby
a very
Green,
very good side.
Getting named.
All-Australian captain.
That's massive.
Huge.
He used to be a little feral, wasn't he?
He still is. He always will be.
That's how he won it.
He's a rough player, but...
I'll never forget the time he was pulling Bond's hair in that.
Oh, yeah. No, he's a rough player, and will get
Bulldogs.
suspended all the time, and got suspended last year during finals, so that was pretty rough for them, so... It'll be interesting to see what he does this year. But congrats to Toby Green for getting the All-Australian captain. That's huge for him, and it's huge for his team as well. I think he's a natural born leader. GWS didn't have a captain for a bit there. They were sort of playing around with a few names for a while, but he's now dedicated to it. He really supports his boys, and with a good side like he's got, I can see them doing fairly well. But it'll just be interesting to see how they go. in finals. If they can get a home game or secure any sort of home game, I reckon they'll be looking pretty good. Saints next up. Another one of those teams that sort of had a bit of a hit and miss there. Started the charge so hard. They were neck and neck with Collingwood for ages until they played, and then Collingwood beat them, and then they were second for ages. They went on a massive hot streak at the start of the year, and then sort of blew out like sort of mid-year and had a bit of a rough
Lyons' first year back, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So he's sort of had a very good influence on the club. They've also got some good players running through there. Sinclair, Higgins, your mate, Steele, and
they've got Butler.
Yeah, they've got plenty of good people. Callum Wilkie just got named All Australian as well. Brilliant side, and they should hopefully do all right. They've got a home game, so you can expect them to do fairly well.
Show out.
But it should be very interesting to see, and hopefully we can get some really good games out of these elimination finals
for sure.
And next up's Carlton. Now I've got a bit of a fierce rivalry with Carlton, but I'll pay respects where it's due.
Especially being the host of the AFL.
That's right. I'll try and keep it very PG, and I want to sort of cater to all audiences. So I will give them the benefit of the doubt here. They have not been in a final for a very long time. Mm-hmm. I have been very stoked about it, but credit where credit's due. They've played a very good season this year. Yeah. We've got brilliant guns like Charlie Curnow, who took out the Coleman medal this year, kicked the most goals out of everybody. So, congrats to him. They've got a very good, strong side.
About time with all their first draft picks for all those years.
They're finally starting to click. Yeah,
they've finally found a team that clicks, and Vossi is one of the hardest blokes there is. It was a bit shaky for them. They had a lot of drama.
He's a Lions legend.
True. He was going to have a lot of. He was going through a bit of controversy there, and there was a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff going on at Carlton. They had a sort of a bit of a losing streak, sort of the start and mid-year.
Yeah.
But then just came out strong. They had a massive win streak towards the end, and just won game after game after game. Didn't matter who they came up against. But Collingwood, who were sitting on top of the ladder at the time, undefeated pretty much, and they were just putting on a clinic, and it really goes to show that they have a very dangerous side, and they are a bit of a dark horse favourite for me, seeing them go a long way.
Yeah, they can knock
off. That's what it feels like for me too.
That's right. They have been. They are headhunters. They can do it.
They beat Collingwood not long ago too, didn't they?
That's right.
I'm pretty sure someone lost one of the biggest bets ever on Sportsbet or something to for AFL. And actually bet on Collingwood to win because they were like a $1 something favourite, and Collingwood paying $3 and Colin fucking gave it to him, so it's like, there you go.
See, I was about to say,
Kurt Vaughan, big voice
true.
I think he was there.
He was.
He was, that's right. He was sending me Snapchats.
Yeah.
We were winning to start off, and I was just like, make sure you send me a video of you crying afterwards. And then he sent me a message afterwards singing the song. I'm like, wow. No. But it happens, and they're a good side. I hate to admit it, but they are a good side, and they're a scary side. And I don't like coming up against them because we've got so much fierce rivalry. Awesome when we get up, and we've had some big wins like kicking them out of finals last year.
Yeah,
huge for us, but it's scary coming into finals with them, and they haven't been there for a while, so they've got something to prove. So it should be very interesting to see.
I'm looking forward to the finals.
It's very exciting.
It's going to be nice and tight. It's going to be good.
And me and Saki, our teams aren't in there, so we can just enjoy it.
You guys can enjoy it. I'm stressed. I'm stressed. Next up, we've got the top four, so double chances. So if you lose in the first elimination final, you can beat the players of the bottom four. Kicking off that list, we've got Melbourne. Melbourne again have had a very good year. They've
2021 premierships.
That's right. They've just come off a big premiership. Big premiership for them too, given they didn't win a premiership in 56 years or something stupid before that.
Pajari's
big Pooj.
I remember watched the grand final here.
Yeah, it's a huge deal. It's a very fun. They're a very fun team to watch. They've got a very formidable side. Gawn's running them perfectly. They've got some excellent.
He should have made the All-Australian.
Yeah, he's brilliant. He's brilliant. Tim English, I think, made the ruck for them this year, and he was very good. But Max Gawn has been a previous All-Australian, brilliant player, and Goodwin's doing really well for them. So it should be interesting to see with them as well. There's just so many teams that I'm keen to look forward to this year. There's so many of them, so it should be very interesting. They're playing the Pies first up, so that'll be another rivalry game, Queen's birthday that they play. So seeing the rematch of that'll be very exciting there as well, most definitely.
Public holiday, so we'll get around that one.
Yeah, most definitely. Next up, we've got Port Adelaide.
Everyone gets around the Queen's birthday when back in the day. Well, now it's going to be the King's birthday.
Yeah, that's going to switch. Yeah,
that's right. It's been switched over. It's the same day, isn't it?
No, it's his birthday. Whenever
that's
his birthday.
Different day.
Is it?
Yeah, but this.
Yeah, it's whenever his birthday is.
I thought the same.
I don't know when King Charles.
No, because I was fairly sure that the
Okay,
Queen's
now.
birthday wasn't even her birthday, but they just had the public holiday on a certain day.
I'm not sure. Could be.
We'll have to do some fact checking into that, but we'll get back to everyone. We'll let them know.
We'll keep you posted.
We'll keep us posted.
I don't know. Just the name should give it away, shouldn't it?
Yeah, that's
feel
right.
like
That's
it
what I thought.
should,
Yeah. One of those things.
Now I'm starting to feel like you're right though, that it's just a random day.
I think it's just a day because I think it'll change every year.
It's like regatta get.
Yeah, true.
It could be like on a Sunday or then like a Tuesday or something.
God knows.
Next up we got Port Adelaide. Hinkley doing a great thing for his side this year.
They went on a crazy winning streak.
They started
11 or something like that.
So strong. They were number 2 for ages there, and then unfortunately didn't get the win against Collingwood at Adelaide, which was huge for Pies. But Port Adelaide have a very, very scary side this year. And they're playing really, really good football. It'll be one of these cases again of whether or not they can play outside of home, and that'll be sort of the factor that really factors into how well Port Adelaide are going to do this year.
Fair.
When they play in Adelaide, pretty much unbeatable.
There's something in Adelaide water.
They
actually do. I've noticed that.
They're Adelaide fans crazy.
They really are, and they're all diehard, and that's wicked to see. That's exactly what you want too from a side that isn't Victorian. That's what you need. You need people to get around your side, and that's how you win games.
It depends if they play a final in Adelaide as well.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see because Port versus Brisbane in Brisbane.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a pretty rough game. Brisbane
the Lions are strong at the Gabba. It's hard to take them down there.
Right. Strong. Brisbane in Brisbane is one of the worst matchups ever, and it's so rough for them. If they do get kicked out, then Port will get a home game for the elimination final, and that'll be good for Port because I think then they'll be able to progress further, which will be very good for them. However, Port Adelaide in themselves, even playing at the MCG, were really, really good. So it should be a very good matchup.
Tough game
between
Zach Butters, he's a good player.
Brisbane. Butters, Connor Rosie, Jason Horn-Francis, who was number 1 draft pick a couple of years ago that came over.
What's the player that kicked that winning goal against Bombers?
Dan Houston. Dan Houston also did very well for my fantasy team, and a defender too. They've just got so many good all-rounders. Like Dan Houston was a brilliant defender, and then kicks a goal from 50 metres after the siren as a defender. Like, what you can't expect that. They've just got so many. Yeah, they're brilliant. They've got some awesome players, and they're a fun team to watch. And they're one of those teams I don't have too much of a rivalry with because I don't know too many people that go for them. It's really good to see, a team that I don't hate doing well because then I can still back them in and good on them for doing that. Brisbane in the second spot. They will be playing Port Adelaide in Brisbane, so I can see them doing pretty well in that matchup. That's going to be really good for them.
Some brilliant players.
Yeah, that's right. And they've got a very, very strong team. Phage is doing really well for Brisbane this year as well. He's
good old Tassie lad.
Yeah, he's good. There was a few rumours there that he'd be keen to come down and have a look at the Tassie side if that was to ever become a thing. But back to Brisbane. Brilliant side. They've got some really, really good players.
Dunkley,
Charlie
Neal.
Cameron, Lockie Neal, previous Brownlow winner. You've got some really, really good players on that side, and you can expect them to do some damage. The only thing that will sort of halt Brisbane and stop Brisbane from going all the way is that the grand finals are played at the MCG. You don't play grand finals at the Gabba unless it's like a COVID period, but At the same time, they had their chance for that. They didn't make it. It is what it is. So let's hope they still do very well, and I still see them doing very well. But again, it'll be one of those teams that come down to a home side.
MCG?
They haven't played Collingwood at the MCG in years.
That's where they played not recently.
They played at Marvel.
Oh, Marvel was it? Yeah.
So they haven't played Collingwood at their home ground for a very long time. I think Collingwood had the home ground advantage in that game, but they just haven't played them at the MCG in a very long time. And Collingwood are very notorious for losing to Brisbane. Like, they play very well against them, but what can you sort of expect? You're always playing Brisbane in Brisbane. You expect them to do pretty well there.
Yeah,
so,
100%.
That's one of those things. And don't want to flex, boys, but we're on to the number one spot here. The minor premiers, the Mighty Pies.
I can see you wobbling already.
Big Clarky, Big Chipatron will be stoked to be here. We'll get them on for an episode most definitely, but we've got the Mighty Pies taking the number one spot this year. Just creamed it.
There's really too many of you in our group.
There's a lot of we are scary. We're a scary side to be a part of. But I think the best part about that is we've got so many good rivalries and stuff like that there too. Like it doesn't matter who.
Tons of rivalries, to be fair.
You either go for Collingwood or you go against Collingwood. It's one of the two. When Collingwood are playing, you either go for Collingwood or you're backing against them. And
it's always been like that.
It is fair.
And since we were kids.
Yeah, there's always someone that everyone either hates them or loves them.
Yeah, that's right.
Love-hate relationship.
It's one or the other.
It's one of those things, and I think that's what really sets Collingwood aside from all the other teams, is that we're used to that kind of pressure, and we have a lot of times where we've won games coming back from being in deficit fourth quarter and then coming back screaming, having a big one on the last one. We're used to all that pressure. We're used to all of those kind of things. So going into finals, you can expect having that extra pressure on a couple of young guns, Nick Dacos, and a few other.
Good team. Good team spirit.
Great team.
That's right. Brilliant team spirit, and what Craig McRae's done for the team has been absolutely brilliant. So it's really good to see Collingwood doing well, and it's the first time.
Craig McRae. He's such a funny. Craig McRae.
He's a beast. He's a beast. Development coach for Hawthorn in their prime, and has been around teams that have won premierships before. So I don't see how he can't go all the way with Collingwood and the current side that he's got. He's got some absolute guns around the board. Brownlow, potential favourite, Nick Dacos in there. His brother Josh, that's just been named in the All-Australian, captained by Darcy Moore, who's another All-Australian. We've just had so many nominations. Quayne are having a good year. Everyone's having a really good year, and they've
solid
all had
all-round team at the moment.
That's right. They've had a very all-round. Really good year. Good year. And it's been the first time in a long time that I've been confident in my team going into finals, or confident in my team all year watching their games. Last year, I was having heart attacks every game because we were only winning within like 4 or 5 points, but we had some big blowouts this year where we beat them. So it was really good to see a very strong Collingwood side, and even in games where we weren't sort of expecting to win, getting those massive points wins was really, really good.
The system you played too is just so fast and hard to.
That's right. When you just get so many contested possessions and you turn the ball over so fast, it's very hard to be able to stop that side, and they're going to be a scary side going into it this year. Go the Pies. So that's all I can really say is go the Pies. I don't want to toot my own horn too much because people will look back on this and hate me for it. But at the same time, stoked that we're here and that we made it all the way to minor premiers this year, and we're going into the finals being favourites. It's really cool, and I'm stoked as.
That's the best thing about being a fan is you can be. The team has done it, so you've earned the right to kind of be stoked about it. Mate.
Yeah, most definitely.
And to toot your own horn a little bit.
I needed this, boys. I needed this. I've copped it so hard the last couple of years. Ever since the 2018 grand final, I've copped it, and it'll be good to sort of go into a finals, sort of feeling very confident in my team, and that's
probably favourite to win. So very fair.
Yeah, definitely fair.
Yeah. Should be interesting.
But Lions, who knows? I do like the Lions.
Lions are tough.
They're probably going to be the team I kind of get behind during this finals.
Yeah, it should be very interesting. We'll talk about our grand final picks coming up shortly, but we've got the first round of the elimination final. So we've got Collingwood versus Melbourne, Carlton versus Sydney, Saints versus GWS, and Brisbane versus Port. So we might go over a few predictions for these games, and that'll sort of
Yeah.
set the tone on what we can expect for later on in the year. So first up, we've got Collingwood versus Melbourne. At the MCG, both teams obviously home ground of MCG. Collingwood's home game, but yeah, Collingwood versus Melbourne at the MCG, massive rivalry there. Who do you boys have for this one?
Do you want to go first or want me to go
You
first?
go first, bro. You go first.
Well, I hate to ride the favourites' coattail, but I've seen Melbourne have some like iffy games here and there. Even though they have had a
We
great
watched the
season.
game here once.
Yeah, they still have had some touches and some goes. Collingwood has... Everyone loses a couple games here and there, but I've seen Collingwood just smash out so many teams that, like, I get the feeling that I'm definitely tipping Collingwood for this one.
Backing in the pies.
I'm backing in the pies.
Cheers, Saki boy.
I'm just going to go Melbourne and change it up. Be the devil's
like
advocate.
it. I like it.
I think Petrarca, if he turns it on,
Yep.
unreal. Max Gorn.
Brilliant.
Mason Cox.
Yeah.
Davis gets injured. No.
That's right. It should be very interesting.
But I reckon it'll be a good game.
Most
Should be a solid game.
That's right.
You can either go either way, to be honest.
It's an exciting game and probably the most exciting on this whole card. To be fair, I'm going for the Pies, backing in my boys, 100%. But I will say this: if Carlton win their game and Collingwood lose theirs, then that is Collingwood having the chance to knock out Carlton in the finals, and that would be huge. So, regardless of the outcome of the game, if Carlton
you guys got
do
safe
get
net.
up,
You got a safety
we do have the
You got a
safety
second
net.
chance.
So if we do get knocked out, we can still play on. But if Collingwood versus Carlton in the finals, that'll be a massive game. Probably the game.
I reckon you'll be favourites almost every game.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Number one, gotta be. Yeah.
Yeah, you would think so. But yeah, it should be interesting. But I am backing my boys in Collingwood.
You have to, mate. You have
Yeah,
to.
you gotta support them.
100%. Next up, we've got Carlton and Sydney.
Yeah.
Carlton having the home game here. But Carlton v Sydney, boys. Who you got? Start with Bradford this time.
I reckon Carlton.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was just going to add to it. I reckon just the form they're in at the moment, and
Yeah.
now that they've finally made finals, I reckon Patrick Cripps, who knows, probably lead the boys into maybe their first final in how many years it's been.
Brownlow medalist, and plus they've got a home game as well. So we've got to remember Sydney's
And they've got some crazy amount of fans as well.
They do, and diehard fans.
No, they're the
diehard.
as we mentioned earlier, equal to Essendon in Premiership. So they've got the history, and obviously as it goes, the fans back then, the kids become fans, and
That's right.
you've got all these
it's a
kids.
vicious
You've got all
cycle.
these fans that have been young, grown up with not being finals, being at the bottom of the ladder, to now
Finally being
seeing-
able to be excited about it.
Excited.
Hearing
so-
about the glory days.
Yeah, that's right. They'll be able to. Carlton fans will be able to finally go to the finals and really get around their team, because they are people that back in their team hard, and this will be the hardest that Carlton have ever been backed in the finals. So you can expect some big things from Carlton, most definitely.
I'm definitely tipping Carlton, to be fair. The streak they've been on at the end of this season, it's just like, surely they're going to push that through to the finals too.
Yep.
And got the home advantage. Like, I don't know. It just seems hard for Sydney to beat them right now.
Yeah, that's definitely right. I'm also going to back the Blues in this one as well. As much as I don't like them, though, I'm going to say it constantly, and it's a slightly biased first episode, but at the same time, the Blues have played phenomenal football this year. So I see them going a long way.
They bleed black.
Trust me,
in finals. Yeah, that's right. I really do.
I want them to beat Sydney, but I don't want them to win another.
Yeah, that's all right.
Them too far above us.
Thank you. Next up, we've got Saints versus GWS. Now, this will be one of the more interesting games
That's
in
a hard
here.
one. That'd be hard for
Saints do have the home advantage here, finishing higher on the ladder.
Is it a Marvel?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I know they've got
That's a good
home game, so you would expect so. But it won't be in Sydney. GWS have had a hot run towards the end of the year.
Yeah, that's what I'm... Yeah.
They have had a hot run. Saints they've been a little bit hit and miss, but started off really, really strong. So the team's there. Ross is doing really good things for them. So you can expect them to show up and show out. They've still played some very good games this year and have a very strong list. So it should be a very interesting matchup. Who have we got in this one, boys? GWS or Saints?
Yeah, I'm feeling the same thing. Kind of similar to Colton's. Colton's like end of season kind of rally, and GWS has been playing pretty well at the end of this season. And I just don't like St Kilda. I don't know what it is. I've never liked St Kilda. I've always had a bit of beef against them. So I hope GWS wins. It's going to be a tough game, though. It's a tough one to pick.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
GWS will be my tip.
I want to go St Kilda.
Saints.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I'm going to go St Kilda. Just because I'll never forget that game when it was the grand final. Collingwood v St Kilda. They drew with you. And what a team! I think that was a great team.
Yeah, they drew.
That was a scary St Kilda side too.
Yeah,
they had some brilliant players there.
It'd been great if they won that premiership.
And Nick Revold they had in there, Nick Del Santo. They had so many good. They had so many good players.
Yeah.
And to be fair, if that game played on into OT, St Kilda would
Ross
have won.
Lyon, he wants payback.
That's right.
He
right.
wants to come back.
But then the next week they just got absolutely
That's right. I think Collingwood came back on fire, and it was really good to see from those boys. So I mean,
tough first game though for sure.
That's right. We're talking a bit in the past, but I'm probably going to back in GWS here. I think I think Toby Green getting All Australian, them having a massive win over Carlton last week.
True. They top it off. Yeah.
That's right. I think that'll be a massive confidence boost going into finals for them, and they have been in the grand final before. They haven't won one yet, but they really want to take. They still want to take out that title.
Yeah.
They played Richmond and didn't quite get up, but on the same respect, they have been able to go all the way before, so there's nothing stopping them doing it from here on out. And the last game, we've got Brisbane versus Port Adelaide.
Yeah.
I reckon this one's another blockbuster.
It should be very, very good. It is Brisbane in Brisbane, so you can't sort of scratch that out, but Port Adelaide have played brilliant football all year and have been and were number 2 for a very long time until
Port Adelaide can be pretenders, not contenders.
Yeah, they can definitely. Listen to this. I feel like there's a little bit more banter coming out here. This is good.
You heard it first, folks.
Yeah.
Pretenders, not contenders.
It's a classic saying.
I like it.
Clark loves the saying, actually.
Does he?
Yeah, he's calling West Ham, who's currently sitting second in the English Premier League, the pretenders.
The pretenders.
Do we think Brisbane or Port are going to get up?
Brisbane.
Go on Brisbane.
Yeah.
Back in Brisbane. It's his second team, so you can
Well,
sort of expect that a little.
I'm born in Brisbane, so it's brilliant.
Yeah, back in your boys.
I don't know. I'm feeling Brisbane at home. You can't count it out. It's going to be tough. They always play very well at home. They're kind of very tough at home. But I've seen them lose a couple close ones that I thought they were going to win, and then the other team just pulled away at the end. So I'm gonna go a little bit controversial. I'm gonna go Port Adelaide.
I like it, second boy. I like it. I like it a lot. I love the beef, and I am going to back in on that one too. I am also going for Port Adelaide in this game.
Just for the pretenders line.
Yeah, the pretenders. I'm
a big fan of Port Adelaide's list. I think they're really, really good. I think
there's something in Adelaide's water. I'm telling you that.
There is something
different. I can guarantee that there's going to be an absolute ton of Adelaide fans over in Brisbane because they will need the support, and I reckon there will be a lot of them.
Yeah.
Brisbane at home is very scary, but I just don't think you can write Port Adelaide out. If Brisbane do win this, I can see them going all the way because they are a very, very scary team. But I do think Port is another one of those very scary dark horses that don't look like the favourite in this match, but they've shown time and time again that they can do it. So let's back in Port for this one. I'd love to see that, and it should be a very interesting one. And one final question that I've got for you boys: who do we think is going to be in the grand final? Because by the next Talkin Smack episode, it will be time for the grand final. We'll know who has it. So we'll do a few predictions now. Who do we think is going to go all the way for the grand final this year?
So who would, if Lions beat Pretenders Port, who will they play?
So they'll have a week off, and Port Adelaide will play the winner of Saints and GWS. And then
I'm going to go Lions for the granny.
Yep.
They potentially Collingwood.
Yep. So Lions v Collingwood.
Yeah. Which
Copy
I
that.
think Collingwood will win because it'll be at the MCG. But I don't know. It'll be close.
It's exciting.
I actually wouldn't mind seeing Lions v Collingwood in the final.
It should be pretty good.
The Lions will destroy a magpie.
It'll be interesting.
A lion will eat up a magpie.
Look, that's actually fair. If you're putting your magpies against a lion.
If only it was like how powerful your mascot was. Because then the Gold Coast Suns might actually do pretty well.
Yeah, the sun is just the ultra
power.
So true.
The power would be alright then too.
Yeah, true that. But let's bring it
Colton
over.
will just be a blue bloody... Fuck knows what is it? Is a Colton?
Just
The
the colour
blues.
blue. Just the colour blue.
Colour
There's just a
blue.
guy there in just all blue morph suit.
That's pretty much it. How embarrassing is that? What do you think, Zach? Where are you going? Who do you think's gonna make the granny this year?
If Carlton win and then Collingwood lose, they play each other, don't they?
So if Collingwood win, then Melbourne and Carlton play.
Yeah.
If Melbourne win, then Collingwood Carlton play.
Yeah.
And then you can sort of go on the other side of the bracket.
I mean, Clark's he'll be watching this and he'll be like, you must say Collingwood.
Yeah. Well, I feel like he kind of got to back the favourite in the sense of like Collingwood's got a real strong chance of making the finals, and then I'm like, who else will make it? Because I'm kind of thinking the dark horses, but it's tough.
There's a lot of dark horses.
Yeah, there's a lot of dark horses. Like who knows? Could be a Port versus Collingwood fucking finals. Like you just don't know. I'm kind of liking the idea of a Brisbane one, even though I've backed Port. Brisbane versus Collingwood would be a good game.
It would be very exciting to see, sort of who runs on that.
Top two dogs all season, basically.
Yeah, that's right. They both play very good football, and it's very exciting. I think personally, and I've been backing this pick since round 3. Yeah. I've said since round 3 this is going to be who is in the grand final. But I'm saying Collingwood versus Melbourne. Collingwood is going to beat Melbourne first up, and then they'll beat Carlton. Then they'll go on to the other side of the roster, play either a Brisbane Lions or a Saints GWS, one of those teams, and then beat them and go into the final from there. And it will still be another Collingwood-Melbourne game. So that should be very interesting. That's what I've backed in since the very start of the year, and it might be geeing up towards that. It should be very interesting to see. But that's what I've got. And it would be a wicked grand final. Regardless, all of these games, doesn't matter who plays. Collingwood Carlton, Collingwood Melbourne, Sydney GWS. You never know, it might happen. But all of these games are very exciting games and ones to watch. So regardless, if you shuffle all of these teams and pick 2 out of a hat, it would be a very good grand final. So
it's very fair, yeah.
It's been a great season.
It's been a brilliant season.
Apart from
there's
Richmond rebuilding.
There's a lot of teams doing that, so you can expect
we haven't had the best season, but it's been a fun season to watch.
Yeah. That's right. You can expect those teams that didn't quite make it to do really well next year, and it just brings in more fierce competition. So it's a very exciting place to be here at the AFL department. Make sure you tune in for all of our future episodes. We'll be touching up on a little bit more come the grand final day. Just before that, we'll release an episode. We'll talk about the rest of finals. We'll talk about the Brownlow medal. We'll talk about the Rising Star and those kind of things, and then we'll do some proper grand final predictions once we know who the teams are. And we should also expect to see a little bit for the AFLW season just starting up as well. We'll get a little bit in there, and don't forget a history episode in there. We'll definitely have too. So
history of the AFL.
So yeah,
DFL.
Yeah, most certainly. There's a lot to look forward to, and it should be a very interesting time for the AFL department at the sticky end of the year. So yeah, let's expect some big things from them.
That's it.
Beautiful stuff. We'll leave it at that, fellas. Thanks for coming on there, Sam Bradford and Isaac Maughn, co-hosts of the other ones. You're listening and Talkin Smack. Take it easy, and we'll see you next time.
And shout out to Sammy being tech.
Beautiful. Good on you, Sammy.